Esports, or electronic sports, is competitive gaming worldwide. Games like Dota 2, Overwatch, League of Legends, and newly popular Valorant have rocked the video game world and brought popularity to esports. Events fill up stadiums and cause thousands of fans to travel to arenas. The League of Legends World Championship in 2022 had 5.15 million concurrent viewers at their peak. Surprisingly, the first esports event was in 1972, but it truly became popular in the 2010s and came into my peripheral in the last couple years. Not only has the fanbase grown, but esports teams have found their way into countless universities and schools. There are even scholarships available for exceptional gamers.
So, why has esports grown to such a scale? Is it a smart idea to have esports in schools? And should it even be considered a real sport? This is what we'll answer today.
So we originally got involved in esports with a team called Splice out of Rochester, New York. And we are now part owners of a team called Dignitas, which is primarily owned by the 76ers. Dignitas primarily plays in League of Legends. That's their best known, highest level team. They've been in League of Legends for about 8 years now. But they also have other teams, including a women's team as well.
I really want to join the Fredonia Smash esports team. I'm really big into Smash Bros. I play a lot. I go to some tournaments out in the Buffalo area. And it's always just been a very big part of my life. So I think kind of joining that team would be really fun and a good way to get like a lot of connection. I think it's part a sport where people go to compete and, you know, kind of work for money, but it's also a thing where people make friends, join a community, have a better connection with others, and I feel like that's a really great thing. I feel like it opens a lot of doors for a lot of people. I think it's a relatively good idea because it gives a lot more, I guess, recognition to esports in general. I feel like it's almost to the point where it's underground at this point, but it's really starting to ramp up and get into more schools, and I feel like it'd be super cool to see more schools kind of get an esports team and open that avenue for a lot of kids.
I think it is as good an idea as having scholarships for basketball or track or football. It is, you know, and people will argue about this, whether it's an athletic endeavor. It's an athletic endeavor. The best people are very good at this. There should be scholarships. I think it's just like any other competitive sport. You should have scholarships for it in college. This is what this next generation of fan likes. And there's probably more people in the Gen Z population that watch esports as watch the Major League Baseball.
Absolutely not. I feel like we definitely need a lot more women in esports. I feel like a lot of teams and commentary and just kind of players are the scene is very male dominated. And I feel like if we add more female commentators, female TOs, female, just anything in that sense would probably add a lot of good representation to the entire esports community. I feel like a lot of people being able to stream and a lot more access to the internet has led people to gain a better knowledge of stuff like esports.
Streaming ecosystem is in many ways much larger than esports, meaning that there's probably more people that watch and stream Minecraft than there is that people watch and stream League of Legends, the most popular esport.
So I know in the Smash scene it started around 2001 era time, and there wasn't a huge boom in the internet, so there wasn't streaming of tournaments. There were like cell phone recordings of old TVs, and I feel like that didn't lend well to a lot of the esports scene.
There are people that stream League of Legends, Dota, CSGO.
If you have a pro player streaming, that gives a bunch of recognition because a lot of clips can go viral or they can do stuff that looks really cool to just the average person.
And that's streaming, and again, that's people not competing professionally, but they're simply entertaining, has gotten people excited about these titles. It's gotten people used to watching people play video games.
Now that the internet has come into play, it has allowed people to kind of get into that hobby and gain a more appreciative understanding of it. I would consider esports a sport, but not in the same way that football is a sport. I feel like they're two very different sides of the same coin, but there are so many things that are considered a sport that feel like they don't take a lot of mental or physical energy. Like you look at golf and you don't think that takes a lot of physical energy, but it also takes a lot of mental energy.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, many of the esports have strategy and insight, and you have to use lots of things that aren't physical to be good at them. In fact, you have to be quite smart to compete in any of these sports. But also at the end of the day, there is a physical aspect to it. It's one of the reasons why as competitors age, they can't keep up. The reflexes, the twitch, as they call it, the twitch reflexes, the fast reflexes, that allows you to be very good at this stuff. Great eyesight, great, it's no different than saying, is shooting rifles a sport or archery a sport? Again, you could argue there's not much physical activity in those things. It's a lot of hand-eye coordination. That's what esports is. It is a physical activity.
It doesn't feel like it takes a lot of physical or mental energy, but once you get in there and you're playing and you're really having to think about every action that you're doing, it takes a lot more out of you than you'd assume it would.
It's been one of the challenges as we've moved to live events. A lot of these fans are viewing from China, from Korea, from the US, from Europe, from the Ukraine. And they're all fans of the same sport. And sometimes they're fans of the same team. It's not the same as soccer, where, if you live in Barcelona, you support, Barcelona or Madrid, Real Madrid. I mean, there are fans of these teams all over the world. So I think it's a great way that people get connected. And this is the great thing about any sort of competitive sports, in that there's always great storylines and great narratives. The underdog comes back and wins. The predicted champion loses in the first round. There's great stories and people get very invested in them. Again, the same as fans of the Buffalo Bills or fans of the Boston Red Sox. It's the exact same thing.
I feel like it gives a lot of emotion to players because they dedicate hours and hours and hours of practice. Like, I know I've probably there's been days where I've put in maybe I think 4 or 5 hours of just straight practice into one game. And, that takes a lot. And when you're doing it and kind of getting really far in a very huge tournament, or not even very far, but if you feel like you're having a really good day in a tournament that's either like a super major or just your locals, I feel like it garners a lot of emotion because you feel like you're achieving something that others may not be able to achieve.